Texas Tech. Chris Beard's going to keep his guys under control. Texas Tech, it's probably a long shot, but that's my pick. So now we go to the South. I'll start with the South. We had some very upsetting news if you're a Virginia fan today. Mr. Hunter, Sixth Man of the Year, is out for the tournament with a broken hand. And if there's ever a team that's been snake bitten the last few years, it's Virginia. They've lost players going into the tournament. It's just been everything you want to go right has gone wrong for them, and now they've got one of their key players out. I'm picking Arizona to come out of this group. I had picked them ahead of time, but I feel better about that pick now. My upset pick, which I don't think is that big of an upset, is Loyola Chicago over Miami. My guess is about 85% of the nation will pick that. Bowen's injury for Miami, which they're now kind of waffling on and saying he might play. I don't see it. If he's hurt enough for them to say he's probably out, and now he may come back, I don't think he's going to be as effective as he usually is. So I got Loyola Chicago. They're a good team. Graham?
Yeah, the two upsets I have in this region are Loyola Chicago beating Miami. I just think Loyola Chicago is probably as good as Miami, if not better. And having that chip on your shoulder of being the lower seed will be enough to see them through. And I like Arizona. I like Arizona's team a lot, actually. So I think they're going to pull off the upset over Virginia and go ahead and win the whole region.
Isaac?
Yeah, my upset's also Loyola. I guess it's not too much
See, there we go.
upset.
100% of us pick it.
I had Virginia in the Final Four until DeAndre Hunter got injured. But I was always deciding between them and Arizona, but I think Arizona's going to do it now. I think they'll beat Cincinnati and go to the Final Four.
That's what I've got. All right, on to the South. Isaac, I'll let you go first this time.
I think the most probable upset's Mike Daum and South Dakota State being Ohio State. And my Final Four is Gonzaga. I think they got the best team. I think they'll beat Xavier. I think Xavier's kind of overrated and not as good. And I got them beating Michigan in the Elite Eight.
And I meant West region, obviously. So, Graham, who do you got in the West?
Well, I have Xavier winning their first game and then beating Florida State. But I wanted to point out something kind of interesting about this West region. I have Xavier and Florida State in the second round. If you guys remember, Xavier crushed Florida State in a big upset last year in the NCAA tournament. So that's going to be a rematch. Might be a little extra motivation for those Florida State players. I have Gonzaga meeting Xavier in the Sweet 16, which will also be a rematch. And Xavier, the number one seed, is probably going to have a chip on their shoulder for the way that Gonzaga crushed them in the Elite Eight last year. So a lot of bad blood in the top half of that West region. And then I have Houston upsetting Michigan and playing North Carolina, but North Carolina advancing to the Elite Eight. So I have, again, a rematch from last year. This time, Gonzaga and North Carolina. Gonzaga will have the chip on their shoulder, but not enough. I really think Roy Williams has figured out how to be an excellent NCAA tournament coach. I think they're going to make the Final Four and match up with Arizona.
All right. So any big upsets in that? First, I guess Houston, right? That's my biggest upset in that region. I got Houston over Michigan. I've seen enough of Xavier this year. I like that team. I know there was a chance they could have fallen to the 2 line, but I've got Xavier going to the Final Four from that region. Not sold on it, but hey, I had to make picks quick, and so that's what I went with, and I'm going to stick with it. Excuse me. Now on to the Midwest. Graham, I'm going to let you go first. This one's kind of leaning towards you guys at Kansas. So what do you got to say about this one?
I think this is the best region in the whole tournament. I know a lot of people think it's the South. But, I mean, if the selling point of the South is that the 4 and the 5 seed are really strong, I don't know if that means the overall region is the best. I just love the star power of having Kansas as the 1 seed, Duke as the 2 seed, Michigan State as the 3 seed. And I actually see this as a region that's going to produce more upsets. So I have New Mexico State upsetting Clemson and then beating Auburn, New Mexico State all the way to the Sweet 16. I don't think anybody's talking about TCU. Everybody, Shelby, everybody seems to think Michigan State's one of the best teams in the country. And I agree, they're a championship contender. I don't think they're as good as everybody else is. I've been saying it all year. I think Michigan State in their home city of Detroit gets knocked out by TCU.
Wow.
And then the Final Four, it's going to be Duke after beating Kansas.
All right, Isaac.
I got Duke going into the Final Four to be in Kansas. My biggest upsets, I think Arizona State's gonna beat Syracuse and then beat TCU, and I think they'll have a close game against Michigan State. But I think Michigan State will win. I thought about picking New Mexico State, Clemson, but I just think Clemson's gonna win that game.
I went ahead and took New Mexico State. I've been high on them all year after watching them beat Miami earlier in the year. And that 12-5 matchup, you got to have a 12 over a 5, right? It has to happen. So this is the one I picked. I've got New Mexico State, like you do, Graham, going to the Sweet 16. And for the record, Graham and I did not discuss our brackets, and we have a lot of similarities, which is really scary. Clemson's got a man down. Auburn's got a man down. They're ripe for upsets. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if Charleston beat Auburn. I don't think that'll happen, but Charleston's a pretty solid team. And again, Auburn being a man down, that could make a difference. No surprise here. I have Duke beating Kansas to go to the Final Four. And, well, there we go. All right. Let's redo our Final Four picks and then our championship picks. Graham, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, you guys know from earlier in the podcast how big of a fan I am of this Arizona team. I think they're going to beat North Carolina and advance to the championship game. And I think Duke's actually going to handily beat West Virginia in the other semifinal. Duke over Arizona in San Antonio to give Mike Krzyzewski his 6th national championship.
Isaac?
I have Arizona beating Gonzaga to go to the national championship, and then I have Villanova beating Duke, and then I got Villanova beating Arizona. So I got Villanova as my national champion.
How dare you? I have Arizona beating Xavier. I think that'll be a fun game, but I think Arizona wins pretty handily. I've got Duke versus Texas Tech, which is kind of off the wall. I'm not hearing much love for Texas Tech nationwide, actually. I mean, any of these radio spots I've done, they've asked my Final Four. They always, Texas Tech, really? Yeah, I like this team. But I picked, excuse me, for USA Today, I had to do a preseason bracket and do all the picks. And so I had picked, before the season started, Duke over Arizona in the title game. Now that the season has come to an end, except for the tournament, I still like that. I like Duke over Arizona. I really, really want to see Marvin Bagley versus DeAndre Ayton. I think that is a heavyweight matchup that would be a nice ending to the season. I got Duke winning 78-71. Like Graham said, 6th title for Coach K. I like it.
You stole my pick of Duke over Arizona. Come on, Shelby.
Nope, I did not. I did not. All right, guys, here's something that wasn't on the sheet tonight, but I'm going to ask you this, Graham. Who wins the NIT?
Oh, God. Haven't even thought about it.
That's why
let me think really quickly.
So, Isaac, you got time to think.
You know what? I do have a pick. I'm going to go ahead and choose Louisville for no other reason than that's a team that's going to probably feel a little bit disrespected. And I just think they're so talented that they're going to just outclass the rest of the NIT field.
Okay, they're down 7 at home to Northern Kentucky right now. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Did I say Louisville?
I think that's what you said. Maybe you meant Northern Kentucky, but it came out Louisville. Isaac, who you got for the NIT?
I think Baylor. I think they're. I don't think they'll be too mad that they didn't make it, and so I think they'll still be trying pretty hard. And I think Baylor will win the NIT.
All right, they're up 13 right now, so there you go. You're looking pretty good right now. Graham and his predictions.
Yeah, you are crushing my prediction.
I'm gonna pull one that y'all hadn't picked out yet, but I think a team that really feels slotted and really feels like they have something to prove. I'm gonna go Oklahoma State. No real reason. I haven't really paid attention to the bracket, who they play, who they could play. Just Oklahoma State. They're playing really good coming down the stretch, and I think they want to show the committee that, hey, we deserve to be in. So there we go. CBI, anybody? No, never mind. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I'm just excited for the madness to finally be here. As much as you and I love doing this selection show stuff, and we're following that, we're following the team sheets every single day during the season to see how things are stacking up. I'm just ready for it to happen. This is the best time of the year, and Christmas has finally arrived.
Yep. Isaac, anything?
Yeah, I just can't wait till Thursday when Oklahoma and Rhode Island play. Hopefully my mom will take me out of school and let me watch it.
If any authorities are listening, the kid's not being a truant, we promise.
Yeah, he's not. We have nothing to do with it if he is, because we're in different states, or at least I am.
I am too. I've got nothing to do with it.
My kids are on spring break, and so I'm shipping them to their grandfather's for the weekend, and he's coming to get them Thursday morning, so I'm set. Wife is going to be working Thursday and Friday. There will be all kinds of snacks and basketball all over the TVs, and I'm ready for it to start. I'm watching the first four tonight right now. Radford is up 53-44. Here's something else I want to bring up. Here's one thing that has bugged me, and I'm glad I've gotten a lot of support on this one in recent days. The first four games. I really believe that the 16 seeds playing in these first four games should be in the main draw. I think the first four games should be reserved for the last 8 bubble teams. That's their way of playing themselves into the tournament. What do you think about that, Graham?
You know, the main reason I like that, and it's not really that I think those teams feel disrespected. If they do, we definitely need to make a change because it's not right for them to feel disrespected after they've earned their way into the tournament. But more than anything, I just don't like that you have teams like Penn and UMBC on the 16 line. The way that the committee is seeding the tournament, the way that it's set up, those teams probably should be 16 seeds. But there's no way you can say those are 2 of the 4 worst teams in the entire tournament. So they shouldn't be there. I'm waiting for that time when a 16 finally beats a 1. And when it happens, I want it to be because that 16 seed was truly one of the 4 worst teams in the NCAA tournament. I don't want them to be the 6th worst team. And I'll always kind of wonder, is the 16 beating the 1 really quite as remarkable as it would have been maybe in the early 90s or early 2000s before we had instituted the bigger bracket?
Isaac, your thoughts?
Did you hear that alarm that just went off?
Did not.
Oh. Okay.
No, but now we hear you talking about it.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, I actually kind of I've never heard that idea before. I kind of like that idea. I don't really love watching the 16 seeds play each other, so I think that would make it a little bit better.
Yeah, the NIT
I just think for those kids.
Go ahead.
I just think for those kids, it's fair, right? Like, if you're LIU Brooklyn, if Radford continues to win this game, and I think they will, then you will never get that shot to play the Villanova or the Kansas or the Xavier or Virginia that you've been waiting for. So were you a part of the madness? Yes. But did you really get the experience that a 16 seed should? No, you didn't. I just don't think that's fair.
Yeah, they did what they were supposed to do to get in the tournament. They won their conference tournament, so let them play in the main draw. The St. Bonaventure's, UCLA's, Oklahoma, Texas even maybe is 10 seeds. They didn't do – I mean, they got in because the committee selected them. But if they're low enough down, make them play in a play-in game. You know, the guys, you did just enough to get in, but we got to make you earn it. Play one more game. If you win that game, then you're in the main draw of 64. That's just the way I see it, and it sounds like you guys are in agreement with me. And on that note, we're going to end this tonight. I think me and Graham may be back Sunday morning, or maybe wait till Monday to discuss Sweet 16. Anything else, guys?
Thanks for having me.
Happy hoops, everyone.